Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Today I am sharing everything I learned about the second half of that saying, and I broke it into 2 parts. Today we're covering water and food, and next week I'll be covering heat, light, and power. So grab a pen and paper and let's get started, because people are no longer laughing at preppers. Hurricane Helene has made us all realize just how quickly we can find ourselves in a disaster situation. Some of the areas of North Carolina that were hit by Helene, they're areas where the residents will tell you that we've never seen this kind of weather and we weren't prepared for this. And if you want to know my opinion on the unpredictable weather that we've had this year, be sure to watch my video titled Lessons from Helene, Your Government is Not Your Friend, and that is on my self-empowerment playlist. So when disaster strikes, the number 1 priority is clean, plentiful water. Now the standard recommendation has been 1 gallon per person per day. I don't think that's enough. I think at least twice that would be your minimum. I think, you're going to be using water for all kinds of things besides drinking. Brushing your teeth, washing your hair, washing your hands, taking sponge baths. And speaking of that, you definitely want to stock up on baby wipes and be sure to put them in sealable plastic bags to keep them from evaporating. Other things you'll need water for: cooking, washing dishes, maybe even extra water to flush toilets if you don't have some other setup. When the electric goes out, your toilet is good for 1 flush, and then after that you have to manually fill the tank with water to flush it again. I used to clean my toilets with white vinegar and baking soda, and I saved the containers ever since I've been doing that. They're really good containers to use for water storage because they're very heavy duty. Your white vinegar bottles, the bigger bottles, the biggest bottles available of white vinegar, save them and use them for water storage. Some questions you want to ask yourself: do you live near a creek? Is there maybe a spring? If you live near a mountainous area, is there a spring nearby that you could hike to get water? If you know any hunters, you might ask them, do they know the location of a nearby spring? If you know a hunter that lives near you. My husband, he's hunted for many years, so he knows exactly where to go to find a natural spring near our house. Also, can you catch rainwater outside? There are rain barrels, all kinds of shapes and sizes on Amazon. Rain barrels and any kind of outdoor water collection. You might want to look into that. No electricity means no water pump, so storing 2 gallons of water per person per day and 1 gallon for each pet per day, it's a good idea. You definitely need a water filtration system. I think the best ones are stainless steel countertop. They're like cylinders about 3 feet high. You'll find pictures of them on Amazon. They're gravity-fed water filters. And some names to look for are Berkey. It's usually the one most mentioned from what I've seen is Berkey, B-E-R-K-E-Y. There's also Water Drop, spelled as it sounds, and Survivor Filter. You'll want a filtration system that filters out more than just dirt. There's all kinds of things in water that can make you sick: bacteria, heavy metals, microorganisms. So read the description on the filter you're planning to buy to know exactly what that filtration system is going to filter out. Because you might have to filter creek water or rainwater. So you'll want something that is definitely going to be able to deal with that. Any outdoor water, it should be able to filter that and make it drinkable. So check out the rainwater collection barrels on Amazon and the water filtration systems from the companies that I mentioned. Also, water purification tablets are a good thing to store. Aquatabs is a good name to look for on Amazon. But at the very least, you should have a water purification bottle with a filter. And there is one on Amazon called Grail Ultra Press Water Purifier and Filter Bottle, and that's GRAYL. You also want to check your water storage regularly. Rotate it just as you would your food. You know, you can't just set your water supply and then forget about it. We had water that leaked in our basement. Mold can grow, bacteria, so I'd say maybe once a month check on your stored water supply. Some other things to consider that you might not have thought about: melting snow in the wintertime and draining your hot water heater. I have no clue how to do that, but that is an option in an emergency situation. And boiling water for 5 minutes is also a way to purify water. And you can do that in your backyard over an open fire pit, or use a gas stove to boil water. Also, something you might not have thought about, using your bathtub as water storage. Amazon has bathtub liners with water pumps that you can buy. Now, that's not an option for us. I bathe in my bathtub. We don't have an extra bathtub that no one is using, but if you do, that could be an option for you to use for water storage. The bathtub liners I saw on Amazon were called Water B.O.B. There's not a big selection of those. That was really the only one I found. So you can look for that on Amazon if you're interested in that. And also Mayday pouch water, excuse me. And that is water in pouches that has a 5-year shelf life. So if you'd order that, you could put that away and not worry about it for 5 years. So those are your water options for storing, and just things to think about for emergency water supplies. As far as food, what are the must-have essentials that you should stock in your pantry to prepare for an emergency? Well, the first thing I want in the morning is coffee, so we store both instant and brewed coffee that needs brewing. If you're going to store whole beans, you'll want to invest in a hand grinder. That electric coffee bean grinder is not going to help you in emergency when the grid goes down. You also want to invest in a stovetop percolator that you could make coffee over an open flame or on a gas stove if you needed to. As far as breakfast essentials, powdered eggs, powdered milk, powdered creamer, canned evaporated milk are some things to think about. Powdered milk can have a shelf life of up to 20 years if stored properly. We buy a powdered creamer from Anthony's. This is a really good company. You can also get organic coffee from Anthony's. And the website is anthonysgoods.com. So powdered creamer. I've bought some powdered lemon juice from them. But I really like their coffee, their organic coffee. It's an excellent company. We've been very happy with everything we purchased from Anthony's, and you can get them. You can go directly to the website at anthonysgoods.com, or you can get it on Amazon. Number 3 is sweeteners. Honey is at the top of the list because that lasts forever. Honey, if it crystallizes, that's when you know that it's definitely real honey. And I'm going to be talking more about honey later, because you can get some fake honeys that are, compromised with ingredients that aren't actually honey. So honey is number 1 for sweeteners. Then there's maple syrup, also blackstrap molasses. And blackstrap molasses I'll talk about later too. Highly nutritious. So good thing to store for emergencies. And jam is your other option for sweeteners. And then there's stevia, cane sugar, monk fruit, all your sugar sweeteners. I use this brand of stevia blend. You don't want to use stevia that has maltodextrin in it. That's a bad ingredient, not good for you. So look for your natural stevias with no maltodextrin and also cane sugar. Stock up on that. Number 4 is steel-cut oats, rolled oats, instant oatmeal, trail mix, granola and granola bars, and cereal. Number 5 is instant mashed potatoes. You want to look for organic potatoes because Potatoes are highly sprayed with pesticides, and they're also one of the genetically modified in the produce. So I'm going to do a future video titled The Crap in Our Food, and I'm going to talk more about GMOs and tell you why they're so bad. It takes a lot of explaining. I don't have time to do it in this video. But look for your organic instant mashed potatoes. Then number 6 is canned and dried beans and lentils and canned or dried peas. Number 7 is organic pasta, rice, and quinoa. I'm not a fan of ramen noodles. There's really no nutritional value in them. People like them because they're cheap, but you're better off with your organic pastas. And then number 8 is nuts, seeds, peanut butter, and nut butters. Now, nuts and seeds are not shelf stable. You'll need to rotate them, but they can keep up to 5 years in your freezer. Nuts can. And then peanut butter and nut butters are a good thing to stock up on for emergencies. Number 9 is canned tomato products. Canned tomatoes, tomato sauce, tomato paste, things like that. Number 10 is your canned meats and your dehydrated meats. Fish, chicken, tuna, salmon, Spam if you like it. Not a fan. A good company to look for under the canned meats is Keystone. It's gotten a lot of good reviews on YouTube. And dehydrated meat you could make yourself with a dehydrator. Beef jerky, turkey jerky, just every kind of meat you can make into jerky. Great to have stored up for emergencies. Number 11 is canned pumpkin or sweet potatoes. Wouldn't it be great to have a nice pumpkin spice latte in an emergency situation? I've been making those lately. Coffee, pumpkin coffee, basically with some spices in it. And also dogs love pumpkin, so mixing some pumpkin in with their dry dog food, give your dog a treat in an emergency. And sweet potatoes, of course, who doesn't like sweet potatoes? So canned sweet potatoes. Number 12 is canned pineapple juice. Any canned 100% fruit you could do, but pineapple is nutritious and it has bromelain in it. I believe it's an anti-inflammatory. Inflammation is something that is at the root cause of a lot of chronic diseases. So anytime you can take something that is going to be an anti-inflammatory, it's definitely something you'd want to put in your body. But you're going to need vitamin C. So canned pineapple juice, if you like pineapple juice, is a good thing to stock up on. And then your dried and canned fruit is number 13. Raisins, cranberries, dried mangoes have become... I really like dried mangoes. This is like fruit jerky. I got this at TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx has a really good food section if you have a TJ Maxx nearby. I spend hours in there in the food section at TJ Maxx. Really good stuff. And your dried fruit is going to last 1 to 2 years if it's stored well. After that, you'll have to rotate it. And then, of course, your canned fruit. Peaches. We get the big cans of peaches. We're peach fans. So any kind of dried fruit or canned fruit is a good thing to stock up on. And then your shelf-stable cheese products. Powdered cheeses, mac and cheese. Number 15 is ghee, which is clarified butter that does not require refrigeration. 16 saltine crackers. 17 flour and cornmeal. 18 apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is very nutritious. I'm going to be talking about that later. And white vinegar, of course, which might as well just get the bigger bottles of white vinegar, because you can use this for pickling, preserving food, cleaning. There's a lot of uses for white vinegar. And then there's baking soda. I use baking soda to scour my tub and sink. I use it for cleaning. It's a great deodorizer. You could put it in your shoes to deodorize your shoes. You can brush your teeth with it. You can make coconut oil baking soda toothpaste. There's a lot of recipes online for that. Number 20 is bouillon cubes. add some flavor to your life in an emergency situation. Number 21, your oils, your healthy oils for healthy fats. Your brain needs fat. Your brain is made of fat. So you need peanut, coconut, olive oils. Coconut has a long shelf life, coconut oil. It's also a good antiseptic, good to use as a moisturizer, keep your skin healthy, and you can cook it at high heat. So cooking over an open flame, like on a fire pit, you could use coconut oil. And your olive oils. When it comes to olive oil, you'll want to look for just one region. These blends that come from all different regions are more likely to be tainted. So look for your olive oils. I don't have one here, but our olive oil right now is from Tunisia, and we've also bought olive oil from California. So those are your healthy olive oils when it comes from just one region rather than your blends. Number 22 is hot sauce. Hot sauce does not require refrigeration, and if you like the spiciness, that'll add a little kick to your food for something different. Number 23 is cornstarch. Cornstarch and baking soda, good to have in emergency situations. Number 24 is salt. Your Celtic salt, your Himalayan salt, and your sea salt. Those are the top three that we use. Also Epsom salt for the medicinal benefits. And you can use it in your garden, Epsom salt. So the Celtic salt, oh, I'm going to talk about that later, right? Yeah, I have that on my... No, I'm not going to talk about that later. I'm going to talk about that now. Celtic salt is high in calcium and magnesium. And then your pink Himalayan salt is high in potassium. So I need magnesium more than potassium, so I like the Celtic. I usually go with the Celtic salt, but we use both. And then your sea salt is better than your regular, table salt. Vanilla extract is next on the list. You could use that flavoring your coffee. You might be glad for a little vanilla extract to add some flavor in an emergency situation. Number 26 is hardtack. And I'm going to be talking about that later. That is something that you can make. It's survival bread, very easy to make. And then number 27, dehydrated soups and vegetables. Number 28, hard candy. Number 29, something you might not have thought about, is vitamin and mineral supplements. And that would be in addition to your present supply. So buy extra and then rotate them. So how much food should you store? Here are some guidelines. For carbohydrates, 1 to 2 pounds per person per week, and that is your grains, rice, oats, pasta, or quinoa. For protein, this is your canned or dried meat, chicken, fish, dried or canned beans, and dehydrated eggs. That would be 1 serving per person per day. 7 servings per person per week. You can do the math very easily. Then we've got peanut butter or nut butter. 1 16-ounce jar per person per week. And then for vitamin C and fiber, that's your canned or your dried fruits and vegetables, 1 serving per day of each, fruit and vegetables. Then your healthy fats, your oils, olive, coconut, peanut oil, 1 to 2 cups per person per week. You don't want to buy canola oil and vegetable oil, corn oil, not good. Those are usually 9 times out of 10 genetically modified, so stay away from them. Your high energy snacks then, granola bars, trail mix, protein bars, 1 serving per day or 7 servings per person per week. And then calcium, your canned or your powdered milk in whatever amount you normally consume in a week. So your hardtack is your survival bread. It's an historic settler food with an extremely long shelf life, made from flour, water, and salt. And what you do is you soak it in water, coffee, milk, broth, or soup for 5 to 10 minutes before eating it, because it will be hard as a rock. It's made with 2 cups of flour, 3/4 cup of water, and 1½ teaspoons of salt, and you roll that into a dough, and then roll it out to a 1/2 inch thick and cut it into 3x3 squares, 3x3 inch squares. Bake it at 375 for 30 minutes on each side. And the recipe that I found was at breaddad.com. And this can last for decades if you don't add anything to the recipe, just your 3 basic ingredients, flour, water, and salt. And hardtack from the Civil War is actually on display at Manassas National Battlefield Park. And the Civil War was the 1860s, so it's 160 years old and it's probably still edible. So this stuff is really good to make and store your survival bread. And the last thing I want to share with you, the last 2 things, is some food shortages that could occur because of these hurricanes. And if the supply chain is affected, talk about some things that you might see disappearing from store shelves. And then we'll talk about some foods that don't require refrigeration. Those are good foods to stock up on, because if your electric goes out, you'll still have them and you can store them at room temperature. So, food shortages because of Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. Peanuts. Peanut farmers were significantly affected by these storms, so that's also going to affect your peanut butter. You might want to stock on peanuts and peanut butter. The U.S. is the 4th largest producer of peanuts, so that crop has been affected by the hurricanes. Crops, livestock, and other agriculture has been damaged by these hurricanes. So some other things that are affected that you might see less plentiful are apples, tomatoes, dairy, beef cattle, and trout, corn and soybean, and sweet potatoes. Poultry farms were affected by the hurricanes. So chicken, depending on where you live, that could be less plentiful. The pecan orchards were affected. I got my big bag of pecans. I like pecans as a snack. They're good on sticky buns, and they're very good with your sweet potato casseroles at Thanksgiving. So if pecans are a part of your Thanksgiving tradition, you definitely want to stock up on pecans. And citrus fruits will be affected, have been affected by these hurricanes. Your oranges, it's going to affect orange juice, lemons, limes, grapefruit. I buy these True Lime. It also comes in lemon and orange, I believe. Good replacement for citrus. I've used this in place of lime juice. Now, it takes a couple packs to get the equivalent of lime juice, because 1 pack equals just 1 small wedge of the fruit. So, but in an emergency situation, limes, lemons, and oranges can be substituted with this dried crystallized juice, citrus juice. If the supply chain is affected, such as this dock workers strike that only lasted a couple days, but it could have gone on much longer, or if certain parts of the country experience drought, things like that, any kind of severe weather, there are certain things that you'll see affected. And one of them is perishable fruits such as bananas and avocados, coffee, rice, wheat. Wheat is going to affect your bread supply and your pasta supply, potatoes, chocolate, honey, olive oil, shellfish, almonds, and anything in your medicine cabinet that does not require a prescription. Non-prescription medicines such as pain meds, cough syrup, that might include topical ointments like antiseptics, anti-itch creams. I'm not sure, but you might want to check your medicine cabinet. Make sure you're well stocked on all those things. And the last thing is foods that don't require refrigeration. These things should always be in your pantry. Honey. Some things I wanted to say about honey. There's a lot of honey laundering going on. That is when they add cheap substitutes like corn syrup or rice syrup to honey and then try to pass it off as 100% honey. You'll want to get familiar with names you can trust. And one of those names is Nate's. It has a bright orange label on it. Thrive Market has some good honeys. And honey is also an antiseptic. It has antiseptic properties. You could use it on wounds and cuts. Honey and turmeric together make a really good natural antibiotic. You might want to keep that in mind if you have turmeric on hand as well. And there's a way you can check whether or not your honey is fake or real. You might want to Google that. It takes too much talking to get into that. But there are ways that you can check to make sure your honey is real. But I think a better way is just get to know your brands and the brands that you can trust. And if your honey is crystallizing, that is a good tip that it is definitely 100% honey. So there's also a lot of nutritional value in honey, which is another reason why you want to store it and have it on hand and have a good supply of it. Butter can be kept at room temperature for several days at a time. Good thing to know. Peanut butter does not require refrigeration, so that's a good thing to store. Olive oil, coconut oil, those do not require refrigeration. Those are good oils to stock. Your nut oils can go rancid very easily, so they can be refrigerated, like nut oils, hazelnut oil, things like that. Jam actually does not need to be refrigerated. You can store it for several months even after you opened it at room temperature. Mustard does not require refrigeration. Ketchup does not require refrigeration. If you've noticed in restaurants, there's ketchup sitting on the table. They do not gather them up and put them in the refrigerator overnight. They stay on the table. There's a lot of vinegar, and vinegar is a preservative, so that's why you don't need to store your ketchup in the refrigerator, although I do. It's just a habit. Worcestershire sauce is high in vinegar and salt. That can stay at room temperature for a year or two, does not need to be refrigerated. Maple syrup can stay on your counter at room temp. Now, maple syrup can mold, but it can mold in the refrigerator just as easily as it can mold on your countertop at room temp. And barbecue sauce. Vinegar, sugar, and salt are 3 ingredients that make barbecue sauce non-perishable and is safe to store at room temp after opening. So there you go. This video, I don't think I realized what I was getting into. It was the hardest by far video that I've put together. Took a lot of research. I feel like I put in a 40-hour work week on this one. But I hope you got something out of it, and I hope that you will like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. All those things will help get this video into the algorithms to be seen by more people. And hopefully part 2 will be a little easier. I will be covering heat, light, and power in part 2 next week, so I hope you'll check back for that. And thank you so much for listening. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you checking in. I hope you're getting something out of these videos. I love to hear your comments, and I appreciate all of my subscribers. I love you all, and thank you. Thank you so much for watching this channel and sharing it, and your comments that you've left that have been very encouraging. I appreciate very much when you leave a comment. So I will see you next week, and stock up.